What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight it is Wednesday evening, December 11th. We're going to be hanging out for the next, 20 minutes, half an hour or so, going over everything you guys need for week 15, first week of the fantasy playoffs. And I hope everyone's having a great Wednesday evening. Go ahead and get your questions in, guys. I'm going to read some of the player news and blurbs from the day, practice news, all that kind of stuff, and we'll circle back to questions shortly. So get your questions in. Starting with, and I'm still not feeling like 100%. This cold's been lingering for about a week. I don't know how you guys are doing, but hopefully everybody's nice and healthy. I cannot beat this stupid cold. It's been kicking my ass for about a week. But anyways, Kenneth Walker does not practice again on Wednesday, raising some concern for his availability on Sunday night against the Packers. So it's Wednesday night as we record this. Again, we'll be going live tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll have another day of notes and practice reports to get us kind of dialed in. If I had to guess today, I don't think Kenneth Walker is going to play. Charbonnet, going to lean towards him being a fringe RB1 this weekend. So Kenneth Walker does not practice today. Bucky Irving officially did not practice today. He was seen participating, but he didn't officially practice. I also am leaning towards Bucky Irving not being in my fantasy lineups this week, even if he's active. When we saw last week, Bucky Irving goes in, gets a couple carries, aggravates his back, and we don't see much of him the rest of the game. I think Bucky Irving's probably going to be on my bench, even if he's active. So for me, I think Rachaad White is the guy that I want in my lineups this week if I have him. Ladd McConkey officially limited in practice on Wednesday. Good news for his availability. Holy crap. What do you guys think about the Bill Belichick UNC head coach? That's pretty crazy. I'm seeing a 5-year deal for Bill at UNC. Dolphins, Raheem Mostert limited in practice today. Don't know if we care. Rashad Bateman fully practicing. That one's a big deal. He hurt his knee before the bye week in week 13. We weren't sure if he's going to be ready for this week. They do have Deontay Johnson suspended for this game as well. So Bateman's more of a deep flex play, but good to know that he's fully practicing. Something in Tennessee to monitor, Tony Pollard not practicing today. They've been kind of very loose with his practice schedule all season here. Not too concerned. If he misses again tomorrow, I'll raise my eyebrow. But for now, I think Pollard's going to be fine. Just a day of rest for him. The Rams are starting to report more on tight end Tyler Higbee. I don't think Tyler Higbee is going to matter for fantasy. We're in the fantasy playoffs. We literally have 3 weeks left of the year, but we've been getting steady reports that Tyler Higbee is close to returning. I'm not that interested. More Rams notes here. Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington, and Davis Allen all listed as questionable for tomorrow night. Not that we want them in our fantasy lineups. The 49ers did list Isaac Guerendo as questionable for tomorrow night. I still think he's not playing, and even if he does play, I don't really want to play him. He's a speed running back coming off of a potential foot sprain. I'm not super excited about that, so I'm leaning towards not using Guerendo if I have him. Breece Hall, the Jets officially does not practice on Wednesday, so a slight uptick for Braylon Allen, maybe even a slight uptick for Isaiah Davis as well. Washington Commanders, they put Noah Brown on IR. His season is done, and they claimed KJ Osborne off the Commanders. So I don't think we should go out and add KJ Osborne. He just signed with the team this week. I don't know if he's going to have any, fantasy relevance in the next 2-3 weeks for us to care. But I do think it's a good move for them for the rest of the season. The Saints head coach on if Chris Olave returning this season, all options are still on the table. If I have Chris Olave, I'm basically planning on him not being ready to play this year. The Saints season is kind of swirling down the drain. I don't think we should see Chris Olave anymore this year. George Pickens does not practice today. I'm going to assume he's doubtful. I don't feel good about Pickens playing this week. Just all the talk around him and some of the reports that I've heard. Why not give him one more week to rest up? The Steelers are going to be in the playoffs. They're a very good team. Please don't rush your best receiver back. They clearly need him by a large margin. So I'm assuming no George Pickens in this one. Will Dissly not expected to practice today. I don't think we should be relying on Will Dissly. If you want the Chargers tight end, it's Stone Smart. That's who we're looking at. Packers Romeo Doubs practicing in full. He remains in concussion protocol, but I would say he's very likely to play this weekend. Panthers, Jalen Coker, fully practicing. Not that we're starting him, but it is good for Bryce Young to just get another one of his weapons back. The Las Vegas Raiders, and last night on the waiver wire show, we had a lot of people asking about Sincere McCormick. We have a report here that Alexander Mattison is likely to be active in week 15, coming back from his ankle injury. But Sincere McCormick would be remaining as the running back one. And that's kind of how I paved it last night. I think, at this point in the season, Raiders aren't making the playoffs. They kind of want to keep a nice draft pick, what they got going on here. But they also want to evaluate talent. And we're going to continue to see Sincere McCormick lead the backfield, I think, in touches. And he remains a solid, low RB2 option for you. Marquise Hollywood Brown is getting close, still needs to get cleared to return. I don't know if we need to add him in redraft leagues. Like, are you going to really stick him out there week 16, 17 in your fantasy lineups, whether it's the Final Four or the championship? Probably not. We do have a note here that Tommy DeVito will start at QB for the Giants in week 15, whatever. I don't really get excited about the Giants offense. Continue to start Malik Neighbors, I think, as a wide receiver 3. And then probably Tyrone Tracy's is really it. Cedric Tillman practicing Wednesday. That's good for his availability this weekend after the concussion. Dalton Kincaid fully practicing. He's going to be back from his knee injury. And then Keon Coleman back from his wrist injury. So the Bills are getting a full healthy receiving core here with Amari Cooper. This is going to be the first time we've seen Josh Allen with a full array of weapons. So good news for the Bills against the Lions. No David Njoku today. And that's one to really monitor here, because if they don't have Njoku, man, like I'm probably pulling the plug on Winston in Superflex leagues. I think you can keep starting Jerry Jeudy, but I'm very concerned if no David Njoku. Josh Downs practiced today for the Colts, and then I think we're kind of all back to the start here. So I'm going to open up some of the comments here. Hope everyone's having a good evening. Brian W., no problem, man. Good luck to you as well. Let's get some of these questions done. Full PPR, Chuba, Pollard, or Rico. I'm not super into Tony Pollard. I know he's been a pretty good volume play over the last, month or so, but I really don't want to trust the Titans. They are playing the Bengals, though, which could be exciting. Let me see where I have Tony Pollard ranked in my rankings this week. So I ended up putting Tony Pollard as RB14. I have Chuba up at RB10, and I have Rico at RB23. So I do like all three of these guys, but I'm going Chuba. If I'm ranking these guys, Brian, it's Chuba, Pollard, and Rico. I really do like Rico, though. I might even move Rico ahead of Tony Pollard, maybe later tomorrow. Do I start Odd Man Out over Caleb, AR5, and Superflex from above? Question. Ooh. No, I think you start your quarterback. They have the better probability of getting 20 points. I think you start your quarterbacks, Caleb and Anthony Richardson. And the best kicker option, we have Seattle Myers this week and rest of season. So I don't really have a ton of leagues. I have one league that I have a kicker in. Let me look and see what we got brewing there for kickers. All right, so I do like Jason Myers. I think the Packers-Seahawks game does have some potential to get loose. The Packers don't allow a lot of kicking points here. They've been pretty solid. They've only had, and I'm just looking at one of my random leagues that has kickers. I'm only seeing 3 double-digit games from a kicker, pending your scoring format or whatever. But it's not a great game to kick against the Packers, it looks like. So I might look into something else. I do like what Jason Sanders has been doing for the Miami Dolphins. They've been scoring a lot of points, a lot of double-digit games out of him lately. Let me look and see here if we got anybody else that could be available for you. I don't trust Younghoe Koo for the Falcons. I don't really want the Titans kicker. I do like Jason Sanders for the Dolphins. You could try Jake Moody. He's back, and he's been kicking fine, but I'm not super excited about that offense. The Bengals put Evan McPherson on IR. So maybe the Bengals kicker? Who is kicking for the Bengals right now? Let me see who's kicking here. Cade York. Cade York is kicking for the Bengals. He did put up 9 points. He didn't miss any field goals or extra points last weekend. I kind of like that. I think that's an interesting one. If you need a kicker for the rest of the season, Cade York for the Cincinnati Bengals. You could also look at, I don't know, Will Lutz for Denver. Denver's been pretty good on offense. They're going to get Indianapolis, the Chargers, and the Bengals. Just a couple kickers there for you. And hey, good evening to Harris. I think at this point, man, Jayden Reed has been very frustrating to own if you have him. He has not shown much of those boom games that we had, in September and October. Haven't really seen him play big games in a while. He did have the 2-touchdown game on Thanksgiving, so that was nice. But it's been a while since we've seen Jayden Reed be a consistent fantasy player, whereas right now, Rico Dowdle, he's kind of becoming a super reliable, consistent fantasy player. He's involved in the offense heavily, getting a ton of touches, catches. He's looking like a really solid play, and he doesn't even need a touchdown. His last 3 games, 15 points, 21 and 10. I like that range of outcomes. I like this schedule too for the Cowboys. They're at Carolina this weekend. They should be able to run the ball and get him his rushing attempts. In games where he gets 18 or more rushing attempts, his fantasy scores have been 19, 10, 21, and 15. And then in games where he gets 12 touches or more, he's got a really safe floor. So I like Rico Dowdle here over Jayden Reed. And good evening to Jason. Hope you're doing well, man. As well as Daniel. Half PPR, half PPC. What's PPC? Anyways, RBs are Cook, Pollard, Braylon. Receivers are Nico, Flowers, BTJ, Thielen, Dell, 2 each, and a flex. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and lock in Cook and Pollard. I still like Braylon Allen, but you got to start Cook and Pollard. Those guys are both top 15 running backs. Braylon needs points per carry. Okay. In that case, yeah, I'm going to stick with Cook and Pollard in points per carry there, Jason. And then the receivers, I think you're sticking with Nico and Flowers. And then BTJ, Thielen, or Dell. I don't have a lot of confidence in Dell. It just really hasn't been there all season. Brian Thomas Jr., he remains a good play, but I think it comes down to, the Panthers have at least showed us something in the last month or so with Bryce Young that gets me excited. So I'm going to go Adam Thielen at flex. I'll bench BTJ. There's just a really bad floor in there, whereas Thielen right now looks like he's got a lot of momentum. He's playing well. I still like Brian Thomas Jr. a lot. He's had 2 nice games. He's really, really freaking good. But I think I go with Adam Thielen here. And good evening to Ron. Good evening. In it to win it, baby. You need advice. Start 1. Super flex PPR. We need a flex. Oh no. Wow. This team is really good if those are your options. So I think we are going to cross off Malik Neighbors here. I don't have a ton of confidence in 1, the Giants, and 2, Tommy DeVito, man. I don't. This is playoff time, and we got a New York Giant, a Buffalo Bill, and a Travis Kelce, and a Kansas City Chief. We're going to cross off the Giant, and we're looking at James Cook or Travis Kelce. I do think James Cook is going to be fine for this weekend, but he does have a tough matchup. I think your best bet's probably Travis Kelce here. I think he's the safest to get you 12 to 15 points. He hasn't scored a touchdown in a while, so he is due. It's a tough game at Cleveland here. I'm gonna stick with Travis Kelce, super flex PPR, flex call, and I do like James Cook this weekend, but we're looking at a tough matchup against Detroit. I don't see them running the ball very well. They're the second best team against running back fantasy points, so I'm going to stick with Travis Kelce here. Start 2, Superflex, PPR, Njoku or Jonnu. It looks really bad for Njoku. I'm pretty sure David Njoku is doubtful for this weekend, so we're going to go with Jonnu Smith here. Mary Kay Cabot from the Cleveland Browns. He suffered a hamstring injury against the Steelers. They're expressing a lot of doubt here for Njoku, so I'm going to go with Jonnu. Aaron Jones, Pollard, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf at flex. Oh man, I don't really trust Devonta Smith, and that's because of the volume in Philly. It's also a tough matchup against Pittsburgh. So I think I'm going to rule out Devonta Smith. So then it comes down to Jones, Pollard, and DK Metcalf. I kind of like DK against the Packers, but they might be getting Jair Alexander back. I don't know if he's going to match up a lot with him. You do have Aaron Jones against Chicago on Monday Night Football. That could be pretty nice. I think I feel safest with Aaron Jones. I'm going to rank them as Aaron Jones, Metcalf, Pollard, Devonta Smith. Hope that helps, Ron. Yeah, let's talk about James Cook for a little bit. I'm going to open up some numbers here and let you guys know what players, like what running backs have been getting against the Lions these last few games. Let's take a look. And of course, Josh Jacobs had himself a nice day with the 3 touchdowns. But keep in mind, like I have the Lions here as the second best team against opponent running backs, and Josh Jacobs just scored 3 touchdowns last week against them. He scored 24.6 points in a full PPR. You have DeAndre Swift. He only got 9 points back in week 13. The Jags didn't really do anything. They gave 6 points to ETN. Houston, Joe Mixon got 17. Josh Jacobs had 12 earlier against the Lions. And then the Titans, Tony Pollard did get 14 points, 20 points for Aaron Jones. So I guess, good running backs get points against the Lions, but they just really limit the touchdowns that they get. So I think it's going to need to be through the air for James Cook, whether he gets his 3-4 catches and really makes it. I have him currently ranked. I've got him ranked at RB15. He's in the same tier for me as Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson, and Rachaad White. So I do feel good about James Cook, but I don't think he's like a slam dunk play. He's coming off a bad game last week where we don't feel great about it. It's at Detroit, though, so they might have to open up the passing game, and hopefully he can break a big play or two. But I don't see this as a game where James Cook gets his volume, where he gets up to 17 carries and he just blows up. So I'd be very shocked if he does hit his high end of outcomes. I think he's looking at more like a 11 to 10 point play for this week. Hopkins, Marvin Harrison, and Braylon Allen, assuming Hall out, half PPR. If a half PPR, I'm probably going to stick with Braylon Allen then, because to me, half PPR is pretty much a touchdown league. I just want to get the guy that gets the 6 points for a touchdown. So I'll go Braylon Allen first. And then number 2, I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. Number 3, I'll go Marvin Harrison Jr. As much as I like Marvin Harrison Jr., it's been a frustrating rookie season for Marvin Harrison. He's either a touchdown or nothing. And I'll trust Pat Mahomes with DeAndre Hopkins. But I'm going to go Braylon, D-Hop, Marvin Harrison Jr., assuming, again, Breece Hall is out. It's against Jacksonville, right? So currently I have Braylon Allen ranked as my RB29. But I did that this morning before Breece Hall missed practice. I'm probably moving Braylon Allen up into the RB20 range tomorrow. So I do feel good about him, and you want the volume in half PPR. Rank the Packers D for week 16. Let me look and see the week 16 schedule. I have not peeked much into week 16. Who do they get? Ooh, Monday Night Football against the New Orleans Saints. Probably no Derek Carr, probably no Chris Olave. Packers are a top 5 defensive play. That's a lock. So yeah, this is great, Daniel. If you guys if you're on a bye this week, congrats. You got the first seed or second seed, whatever. You're on a bye. Look at the Packers defense, man. Week 16, they're going to get the New Orleans Saints. We're not scared of that Saints offense right now. It's in Green Bay on a Monday Night Football game. That's going to be a cold game. I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now, and it's like going to be 5 degrees tomorrow. The weather is not great up in the Midwest. And so Packers defense probably going to be a top 5 ranking for me next week. I'm just looking real quick here. The Saints do allow teams to score fantasy points here, so it's a good play. I'm going to rank Packers as a top 5 D. This one's easy, Harris. If no Kenneth Walker, it's Charbonnet. If Kenneth Walker plays, it's Reed. Tillman, Moore, Debo, Samuel, double PPR. I'll go Debo. I'm going to stick with Debo here. And I know Debo's been frustrating, but the 49ers are pretty much like tomorrow night is their season. Like their season's on the line. Can they hang around and can they punch back? I have Debo ranked at wide receiver 39. I have Elijah Moore, wide receiver 45. And then I do have Cedric Tillman. Where is Tillman? I have him at wide receiver 72 just because I have him as questionable. I'll move him up, but he'll be definitely behind those guys. So I'm going with Debo. Thoughts on Jonnu Smith this week? I have Jonnu ranked as my tight end 6, so I do like him quite a bit. And it's hard to ignore, man. He's been one of the hottest tight ends in the league lately. And as I'm looking at this, I'm going to pull up the fantasy points loud here. The Miami Dolphins going up against the Houston Texans. Let's look and see what the Texans have been allowing to tight ends. The Texans are relatively good against tight end. They're the 4th best team against tight ends. They've allowed 5 touchdowns, though. And in the last few games, they let Evan Ingram go 7 for 41. That's 11 points. Week 12, they let Chingo Okonkwo go 1 for 70 and a touchdown, 14 points. Week 11, they let Luke Schoonmaker go 6 for 56, and then the backup to Schoonmaker is Brevin Spanford. He went 4 for 42. They let over 23 fantasy points go to the tight ends back in week 11. Sam Laporta, 15.6 back in week 10. So there's a little bit of a squeaky wheel here where the Houston Texans have been giving up some points to tight end. They've allowed a touchdown in the last few games here, a lot of yards, a lot of receptions. I'm going to continue rolling out Jonnu Smith. I feel good about the Dolphins offense. Tua's looking good. And I think that's a sneaky high-scoring game. Miami, Houston, like there's a lot on the line here. Houston needs to keep winning games, and Miami's still, fighting for a playoff spot. So I like Jonnu Smith this week. He's my tight end 6. Purdy or Mayfield. My rankings at quarterback, I believe, I have Purdy at QB 13, Mayfield at QB 14. This is purely a preference call. I don't feel like amazing about, either one, this week. I still struggle with Baker Mayfield because sometimes they just run the ball a lot and you never know what's going to happen. Baker Mayfield, though, playing this week he gets the Chargers and Purdy gets the Rams. So they have no running game. We might see Purdy open it up. I'm gonna stick with Purdy. I'm gonna stick with my ranking here. I have Purdy again, QB 13, Baker Mayfield QB 14. They might not be able to run the ball. If the Rams offense is playing good, they might have to play from behind. I like the Chargers defense. I think you can play against the Rams defense. So I'm gonna go with Brock Purdy. And hey, man, no problem, Ron. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody in the chat, man. Very, very thankful to have this knit group here of guys that always watch my stuff and get questions. And it's been a fun season, guys. Thank you. Brandon, good evening. Najee or Tank Bigsby? I don't think it's close. I think it's Najee. I understand Tank Bigsby. He looked good last week, right? But give me Najee Harris. I'll take his full season body of work over Tank Bigsby's body of work. It's one of my rules, man. Sometimes I just want to dance with who brought me to the big dance. We've been on this mission for 14 weeks, and you've probably started Najee Harris 12, 13, or 14, probably 12 or 13 times. And Tank Bigsby, even though he's kind of looking good right now, he did rumble 55 yards and a touchdown last weekend against Tennessee. He gets the Jets this weekend. I don't really want to bet on the Jags, man. I kind of want to bet on the Steelers. It's a big game in Pittsburgh, or it's in Philadelphia, but Steelers, Eagles, I'm going to lean on Najee Harris. He's been really rock steady all season long. I can stomach the decision. If he gets me 7-8 points, I can live with that. I think Tank Bigsby's floor is way lower. He's probably a 3 or 4 point floor. And, I don't really want to mess around and risk something like Tank Bigsby getting a 3 or 4 point game where I know Najee's going to get the volume for me. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with James Cook here. I half PPR, I usually lean towards the running backs just because volume, touchdowns are easier to come for running backs, and James Cook's still a really good player. Tillman, Moore, or Harris, double PPR. Harris. Is that Najee? We're going Najee. We're going to stick with Najee there, Harris. 8-team, full PPR. Good evening to Sport Dog, by the way. We have Love or Herbert to use at QB. Both have decent contests. I'm thinking Love, but Herbert does have Tampa in their home. Do you have a favorite? So I do have Jordan Love ranked higher for this week. I have Jordan Love at QB 10. I have Herbert at QB 15. I'm not opposed to playing Herbert though. If you have a good, strong feeling about Herbert, I'm fine with it. I think the opportunity for Herbert to throw the ball 30 times and throw 2 touchdowns, 300 yards. I don't know if that's in the cards. They want to run the ball. They play good defense, and they just don't open it up enough. You also have a gimpy Ladd McConkey coming into this one. I think Herbert can get there on efficiency, but you're kind of gambling here. I think Herbert, his range of outcomes is probably 12 to 18 points, which he's the safer play. I'm gonna risk it with Jordan Love, who's starting to run the ball a little bit more. He's looking good from his knee injury, but he's also got the potential to hit your 300 yards, your 3 or 4 touchdowns. He can even rush for a touchdown. So I think Jordan Love is probably the safer play because he's got a high floor and a very high ceiling. So I'm in Jordan Love. It's in Seattle. Packers might have to throw the ball a little bit more. I'll lean with the Packers quarterback. Good evening, Mr. Magic. A-Rich or Jordan Love over those two? I'll go Jordan Love. My rankings, Harris, I've got Jordan Love QB 10. I've got Purdy QB 13, Baker QB 14, Richardson QB 19. Sit 1. I'm gonna sit Taylor. I'm not super. So it's hard. Like this is there's a really giving fantasy football advice is really tough sometimes. Like we're week 15 in the fantasy playoffs, and we have a running back tomorrow night named Patrick Taylor, who's probably the starting running back for the 49ers, which that's a good position to be in. You want the 49ers running back on your fantasy team, but we have no stats or previous data on this player starting for this team. We also have the 49ers as a whole not operating well. They're missing offensive linemen. Their offense is just not humming on all cylinders. And we don't even know if Patrick Taylor's all that good. He's been a backup running back for his entire career. And it's week 15, first round of the fantasy playoffs. If it's me, I'm probably going to hold out hope that Breece Hall doesn't play and start Braylon Allen. You're starting James Cook here in this situation. Unfortunately, like Breece plays Sunday. If we get if Breece Hall doesn't practice tomorrow, I'm going to hold out for Braylon Allen, because if you tell me Breece is out, Braylon Allen's probably ranking as a top 20 running back for me against the Jacksonville Jags. It's not a great matchup tomorrow night for Patrick Taylor going up against the Rams. I still think the Rams are fine on defense. They've been playing good ball. Let me look and see how many fantasy points they allow to the running back position. They're kind of average, which is fine. But man, the Jags are 31st. They're the second worst team against the running back. Give me Braylon Allen. If we get a Breece Hall DNP, no practice tomorrow, I'm going to hold out for Braylon Allen. If Breece Hall practices tomorrow, I think you probably got to play Patrick Taylor. And Ron's got another one. Okay to trust Jacoby with Ritter and is his QB, or should I roll with Hockenson or Metcalf? Metcalf and Hawk have been relatively disappointing. Yeah, they have been. I mean, Jacoby's last 3 games with Aiden O'Connell, and he did get a good amount of of Ritter last weekend, 15, 11, and 10 targets. He's had massive target shares. So the safest play is Jakobi Meyers here. If you're just trying to lock in 10 to 12 points here, the play is Jakobi Meyers. I think the greatest ceiling though is probably DK Metcalf, and I know Metcalf has not been great this season. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 7. He missed a few games in the middle of the year. He's played the last 4. He's had 14, 10, 10, and 9 points in the last few games. I personally would probably ride with DK Metcalf because I think I'm going to get my 10 points out of him as a floor. And then he's got that upside to get me the 100 yards and touchdown. I know Jakobi can get there too, but I think Geno Smith, the Seahawks against the Packers, I'm probably going to ride with DK Metcalf here. And I do have Metcalf ranked up at – I've got Metcalf up here at wide receiver 20. I have Jakobi Meyers at wide receiver 28. So I think Metcalf offers just as high as a floor. And Meyers to me just doesn't offer a huge ceiling. And you know, we're kind of putting ourselves at risk here with Jakobi Meyers, or not Jakobi Meyers, Desmond Ritter, because we just don't know what he's going to be able to do. So I will lean Metcalf here. Hawkinson, you know, I'm not really considering it. It's either Metcalf or it's Jakobi. I'm going to lean Metcalf by a hair, but I'm not going to fault you if you want. You know, I give advice, and if it resonates with you, it resonates with you. You know, I don't hate, but both guys are good plays. Jakobi Meyers is going to get his 10, 12 points. He's going to get his 6, 7 catches. Metcalf, though, he's the one that can get you the 6 for 120 and 2 touchdowns. I don't think Jakobi can do that. If no DeAndre Hopkins, if no Garendo, I'll go Taylor here. Hopkins has been just fine the last month and a half or so. He's not getting a ton of he's getting volume, but his upside I don't think is all that great. He's not a 100-yard receiver anymore. He's not a 6, 7, 8, 9 catch guy. I think Taylor, you know, if he scores a touchdown, he's going to hit you 13, 14, 15 points, which is kind of the same thing as D-Hop. If no Garendo, I'll go Taylor here. George Kittle or CeeDee Lamb? That is nuts. It's CeeDee Lamb. It's CeeDee Lamb. DK, baby. Good luck, Ron. I don't know if that's Wandale, DeMarcus, but I'm going Robinson over Pearsall. Yeah. We're probably not starting either of these guys, Harris. I think both are droppable going forward. I wouldn't sweat it too much. You're probably not going to start either of these guys. I guess drop Abdullah because when Madison's healthy, he plays over Abdullah. McConkey looks like he's going to play. You know, not playing last weekend gave him a nice weekend of rest. Wednesday practice report has him as limited. That's a good sign for his availability. If he does not practice tomorrow, that's a downgrade. That means he's probably not going to play. But as of tonight, I would say he's on track to playing. And our Gatch 36, thank you for your question. Baker or Jameis? We're going with Baker Mayfield, man. He's been just super steady all year. I know he's had a couple, you know, so-so games, but it's against the Chargers, which does concern me a little bit. He's had 2 bad games, maybe 3 bad games all year. Otherwise, he gets his 2 touchdowns. He gets his 300 yards. He finds a way to get there. I'm going Baker here. Jameis against the Chiefs. Sounds like a, you know, 2-3 turnover game for Jameis Winston. It sounds like a struggle kind of game for Cleveland's offense. And no David Njoku as well. You know, Njoku's looking like he's not going to play. He didn't practice today. They're already saying doubt here with the hamstring injury. I'll go Baker Mayfield here. I do have time for 1 or 2 more questions, though. I do have to get out of here shortly, though, guys. So get your final questions in. And I want to say, hey, thank you for watching the Fantasy Fellowship show tonight. Don't forget to like the video. It helps people know that this was a good channel, a good video for them to watch. And then subscribe if you guys are new. I appreciate you so much. Sport Dog here with an 18 PPR Superflex question. We have Saquon and Bijan with Charbonnet. Okay, let me digest this here. With Garendo and Brian Robinson, with Charbonnet in one of my flex, with Garendo and Brian Robinson. So Brian Robinson or Charbonnet in my flex. So I really don't think with Garendo and Brian Robinson, with Charbonnet in one of my flex. So I don't think Charbonnet. I don't think Garendo's playing tomorrow night. If you have two flexes, I'm playing Brian Robinson and Charbonnet. Like Garendo's just not on my list. If I have to choose between Charbonnet and Brian Robinson, I'm probably going to choose Brian Robinson. I like Charbonnet. He does have a tougher matchup against the Packers, but we're going to get Brian Robinson against the New Orleans Saints this weekend. I feel pretty good about B-Rob in this one. You're starting Saquon, you're starting Bijan, but I'm going to rank your running backs here as B-Rob, Charbonnet, and then Garendo last. Man. The Texans do allow quarterback points. Like, I'm not afraid to play Tua in this one. But you roll with Jaden Daniels. He's got the insane 30-point rushing upside with his legs. I'm going to stick with Jaden Daniels. But if you have a gut feeling about Tua, Tua's been playing good ball. I'm fine with playing Tua, but I'm going to stick with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is my QB3. Tua is my QB6 this week. Nico on my 18 PPR super is my second flex, so I can't play both Charbonnet and Robinson. I think Nico will have a great game. Okay. So if that's the case, and I like your point, though. Charbonnet is fresh. Brian Robinson's also coming off a bye playing against the Saints, and that could easily rack up 100 yards and a touchdown. But I'm these guys are in the same tier for me. As of right now, my rankings have Brian Robinson RB16, Charbonnet RB18, and that's factoring in no Kenneth Walker. So I do think both are good plays. If you have a stronger feeling about Charbonnet, I'm not going to say don't do that. I think they're both strong RB2s this week. Just the Packers defense, man. A little bit stingier than I would guess that the Saints are. Right now, the Packers, in terms of PPR points allowed to the running back position, let's look and see. Packers rank 11th. They allow about 24 points per game to that position. The Saints rank 9th. They allow about 25. So both good matchups, but trust your gut. If you want to go Charbonnet, I will not say that's a bad play. And thank you all so much. This was fun. We had a lot of people in here tonight, so I appreciate everyone hanging out with me on a Wednesday night. If you guys want to hang out tomorrow night, Thursday, we'll go live 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll go over all the relevant player news for the day and get your questions in there. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Peace. Got me feeling icy.